If Putin launches a strike as early as tomorrow, who will actually respond? While European capitals are mired in bureaucratic disputes, Radio Liberty analysts have posed an uncomfortable question. Is Europe ready to defend itself without help from the United States? Right now, NATO is going through the most profound identity crisis since its original founding. Does a unified European army really exist as a functional force, or is it merely a political myth that will ultimately have to be paid for with national sovereignty? Watch this video until the very end to find out exactly what kind of strategic scenario the Kremlin has prepared to test the strength of NATO's Article 5. And for more details, check out our report. You're watching the Glavred channel. I'm your host, Evgeny Serov. Please like and subscribe to the channel. The main message of the report is the growing skepticism regarding the role of the United States. The return of Donald Trump to the White House and his statements about commercializing security have forced Europe to face the reality that American soldiers may not come to the rescue in the event of a local conflict on the eastern flank. The article emphasizes that Putin sees this crack. The Kremlin's strategy in 2026 is aimed at testing whether Berlin or Paris would dare to fight for Narva or Białystok if Washington decides to remain neutral and stay on the sidelines. Radio Liberty has pointed out that collective defense today is currently dependent more upon inertia than on substantial military resources ready for immediate deployment. The idea of a unified European army has been discussed for decades, but the year 2026 became a moment of truth. The primary issue is the complete absence of a unified command center and the significant and vast differences in weaponry. France insists on strategic autonomy, while Poland and the Baltic states fear that this is just a pretext to weaken ties with the United States. A Radio Liberty article points to a critical shortage of ammunition, air defense systems, and heavy equipment in the EU countries. Today, the European defense industry is unable to sustain a high-intensity war for more than a few weeks. The European army exists only on paper, but on the battlefield it remains a collection of separate entities with their own different languages and incompatible communication standards. The Kremlin in Moscow is currently betting on hybrid scenarios that do not fall under the formal definition of war. The sabotage of communication cables, cyber attacks on banking systems, and the use of migration crises as a strategic weapon. All of this is already happening right now, but the main argument remains the threat of nuclear blackmail. The article raises the question, does Europe have its own nuclear shield? French and British military forces are not sufficient for fully deterring Russia on a global scale. Without American missiles in Germany and Poland, Europe remains vulnerable to missile terror, which Putin resorts to every time the situation reaches a deadlock. The future of NATO is hanging by a thread. The year 2026 will show whether Europe can finally grow up and take full responsibility for its own fate, or whether it will instead become a battlefield in the great game of superpowers. What do you think? Should Europe create its own unified army separate from the United States? Or would that only serve to accelerate the collapse of NATO?